Welcome back, everyone. My name is Reed Blakemore, Director of Research and Programs at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center. We're here at the Global Decarbonization Accelerator Pavilion doing another live from COP here at COP28. I'm joined by Henry Fernandez, Chairman and CEO of MSCI. Henry, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're doing a lot of these interviews over these 2 weeks here at COP. I think it's great to start. Talk to us about MSCI, your work, and how that's brought you to COP28 this year.
So MSCI is an investment tools company. We create tools that help global investors understand sources of risk, sources of return, and the ability to put risk and return together in some kind of optimal fashion. Right? So this is our client base is the largest global investors in the whole world. There is about $115 trillion of assets being managed in what you will call the global investment industry. Right? So those are our clients. And that's what we're here to work on. Right? So those people have begun to realize that climate change is a big source of risk and potentially a big source of return. And they need to start looking at their portfolios and understand who the potential winners are and who the potential losers, and what do they do about that, right? How do they begin to discern one from the other, and how do they begin to look at pricing of assets relative to climate risk and reallocation of capital to make sure that they fulfill their risk-adjusted returns, that are beneficial for their beneficiaries. So that's what we do. So our goal in this COP is to do a number of things. The first one is to continue to blow the horn that this is going to be a bigger problem. It's going to be a lot faster than most people think. So that's one important continued effort. The second one is to say, okay, what do we work on? What are the specific things that we work on? The first thing is information, data, risk models, valuation models, and all of that. The global capital markets are built on information. No information, no good pricing of assets, no good allocation of capital. So we are promising that we will be delivering a lot of the information, a lot of the data, a lot of the models for people to begin to analyze the problem and do something about it. That includes the voluntary carbon markets. A lot of people have been down on the voluntary carbon markets, but they have to be a major tool of the de-risking and decarbonization of people's portfolios over time. So we're working on information to more standardize, create more orderly, forms in the voluntary carbon markets, so that what you buy is what you get, and you understand what the ratings are of those things, etc. So those are many of the goals. We're also part of GFANZ, and we're in the principal groups of GFANZ. And one of the things that GFANZ is focused on is the deepening of the transition plans by financial and non-financial organizations around the world. So we had a session yesterday in which we talked about how do we get these transition plans to be deeper, to be wider, to be more prevalent, and based on science, based on data, based on real actions and the like. So that's another area that we're focused on.
It seems like MSCI is cross-cutting throughout the COP agenda this year. Right? You mentioned your role in the conversation around risk, the role in the conversation around finance writ large. Frankly, you mentioned data. That's been a common thread across all of our discussions here at COP, purely because it's so hard to get good data. But when you look at the overall COP agenda, what pieces of the agenda are you particularly excited about? What do you hope to see really move forward at this COP?
There are, in my view, 4 pillars of the big transition to a low carbon economy. There's the energy industry, to go from fossil fuels to renewable energy. There is technology to enable that. There is policy, governments writing the rules of the road. And there is capital. The capital industry, broadly defined, investments, finance, like banks, insurance companies, and all of that. Our role is clearly in the capital industry. What I feel particularly good about is that the capital industry is beginning to mobilize. There is no transformation, economic transformation in the history of the world that has not been led by capital. Most people don't talk about that, right? But no capital, no no investment, no things. So therefore, the capital industries began to realize how important it is to begin to reprice and reallocate capital in the mainstream and channel capital to those areas that are going to be higher return because they're good opportunities, and away from the areas that are going to be higher risk. So that's going to create different cost of capital, right? That's going to create incentives for issuers, companies and municipalities and states to go where the capital is. If you and the capital industry is going to throw more capital at places that are going to be engaged in the transition and providing good returns, and it's going to deprive capital from those that are not. So this started in Glasgow for the first time. We make some progress in Sharm. We're making significant problems this year in Dubai.
You mentioned the arc of the past three COP. This COP included the past three COPs, Glasgow to now. Looking beyond these 2 weeks, when we all go home on December 13th after what we hope will be a productive 2-week-long COP, how do we continue that arc? What do you hope to see looking ahead from the end of this COP onwards to COP29 over the next year?
So let me focus first on MSCI and then focus on the industry. The first thing about MSCI is that we have made a lot of promises that we will provide the data, carbon emission estimates, future carbon emission estimates. We will provide models, risk models, valuation models of assets around the world so that no one has an excuse to look at their portfolios, investment, finance, insurance, and say, what do we do about it? Right now, there are a lot of excuses. Oh, the data is not available. So a lot of excuses going on, and some of them are very valid. So we have made promises that we will deliver on the information that is needed and is necessary for this process to happen, right? So that's one thing that we're focused. We're focused also, more specifically on how do we help the voluntary carbon markets, because those are mechanisms to transfer value and transfer risk between players in an economic system. So we want to do that. In the wider set, with our friends at GFANS and other organizations, we're focused on what are the protocols, what are the frameworks that are important to create the ecosystem to do all of this. So transition plans is a framework. Obviously, the more voluntary markets is another framework, but they need to do their work to help figure out how to structure, how to help countries and regions develop this infrastructure for let's say the carbon markets and the like. So those are things that we are very much that we're hoping that we can do this before the next COP and obviously the next COP in Brazil.
I like the setting out the ambition of, we called this the action COP or the implementing COP. Perhaps if we do all this right, COP29 can be no more excuses. That'd be a great tagline for the next COP. How about that?
I like that line.
Exactly.
The slogan, yeah.
Well, thank you, Henry. It's been a pleasure talking with you. We'll be doing many more of these live from COP interviews here at the Global Decarbonization Accelerator. So stay tuned. And until next time, enjoy your COP, Henry. Enjoy yours.
Thanks.